Chief Wu looked at the blue light, calling out his name in surprise. He stared at the ground, confused, wondering if others felt this too. A figure in the dark felt a chilling storm of mana, looking scared. A man in armor asked if any major guilds were near. The creature's face appeared, with one red eye and a wide grin. Something moved fast through the air, leaving a trail behind. He turned his head, sweat on his face, as something rushed by. He spun in the air, surrounded by a burst of energy and wind. He hit the creature hard, making a loud wham sound. The creature flew back, crashing into the ground with force. He yelled in pain, covered in broken stone and dust. He got up quickly, his eyes wide with shock and anger. He moved fast, dodging a large fist that came at him. He punched the creature hard, making loud bam sounds. The creature's face showed a smile as it took the hits. A large eye opened, glowing white, as the wall cracked. He kept punching, his fists moving fast with pow sounds. His eyes glowed bright blue, full of focus and power. The creature smiled, saying he was exceeding its expectations. He swung his arm, sending a blast of energy forward. The energy blast moved fast, making a whomp sound. The creature's face grinned, its eyes glowing in the dark. He moved fast again, a red trail following his motion. He hit the creature hard, making a loud boom sound. He stood still, a red trail fading behind him on the cracked ground. The creature rose, smoke swirling around its many legs and dark form. Its face split open, one side cracked stone, the other a sharp grin. It lunged forward, dust and debris flying from its sudden movement. He looked up, blood on his face, voice calm despite the danger. His eye glowed blue as he asked the architect why he was chosen. The creature floated, voice low, asking if he wanted to know the truth. He dashed sideways, the ground cracking under his swift escape. Purple energy burst from him as his skill activated with a loud hum. The creature watched, voice cold, saying distance attacks won't work. A bright blue blast shot past, tearing through the air with force. He slid back, realizing his long-range moves were now useless. He whispered, voice firm, that it didn't matter what the odds were. A dark shadow moved fast, cutting through the air with sharp edges. He stood still as the creature spoke, swords forming around its hands. The creature spun, blades whirling, ready to strike with full power. Its hand closed around a glowing sword, energy crackling along the edge. It held many blades, voice proud, saying it designed everything long ago. He gripped his own weapon, voice shaking, asking how it gave him power. The creature turned, face half hidden, saying it was just the architect. It declared, voice loud, that its design was flawless and perfect. He stared, eyes glowing, blood on his cheek, jaw set with resolve. A timer appeared, counting down the seconds left in the fight. He thought, voice urgent, that he had no time and must face it now. He leapt, body tensed, ready to use all his strength for the last push. He hit hard, a loud boom shaking the ground and sending dust flying. He jumped back, dodging a blade that sliced the ground where he stood. Steel clashed, sparks flying as their weapons met in a fast, loud fight. The clash echoed, metal ringing as they pushed against each other. A blue light pulsed, and he felt his senses grow sharper and clearer. He stood firm, eyes glowing blue, whispering, "I can do this." His gaze locked on the enemy, a sharp light flashing in his eye. Weapons flew, longsword, spear, blade, axe, hammer, all in motion. He breathed hard, face streaked with blood, thinking, I can sense all of his movements, he realized, eyes wide with focus. He swung his blade hard, the edge cutting through the air fast. He moved quick, dodging attacks, his body a blur of motion. The enemy thought, I'm using full force, how can he block me? The enemy yelled, and he's getting even faster. As he struck, a weapon sliced clean through stone, leaving a sharp, clean cut. The enemy cried out, ugh, as pain shot through his fake body. He saw the truth. eyes narrowing, and said, "I see." A voice asked, "Could this be why you were chosen?" As he stood, he looked down, thinking, "It's only a small fraction, but it's mixed in there," he muttered, jaw tight with focus. The enemy screamed, "You're just a mere human. How dare you?" The enemy's armor cracked, red eyes glowing with rage. His foot slammed down, shaking the ground with a deep rumble. He turned, gritted his teeth, and started to sprint forward. The enemy rose, towering over smaller fighters with glowing eyes. A skill activated, Dominator's authority. Blue energies surged around him. The ground exploded under his power, sending shockwaves outward. He dashed fast. A timer above him, time left. 3 minutes, 15 seconds. He hit the ground hard, stone cracking under his weight. He leaped high, body twisting midair to avoid a falling block. He struck fast, bam bam echoing as he broke through defenses. Stone shattered around him, debris flying in all directions. A red slash cut through the air, slicing stone with ease. He swung again, slash. The timer now read, 3 minutes, 02 seconds. He grunted, "Ugh!" as his blade hit stone, sparks flying. His eye widened, sweat dripping as he stared ahead. The stone giant creaked, looming over him silently. He recognized the figure, remembering the past fight. He leaped high. The timer now showed 2040 left. He crashed into the giant, stone cracking around him. He grinned, seeing the giant's helmet crack open. Darkness filled the frame. Silence fell heavy. He slashed twice fast, timer at 221 now. A huge blast erupted, stone flying everywhere. Smoke rose thick, rubble covered the ground. He held his broken sword, thought, "I've lost." The hooded figure stood, declared, "The test is over." The timer read 211. The fight was done. A stone hand pointed up. A voice said, "The answer is within you." He looked confused. A screen asked if he would accept data retrieval. A hooded figure appeared. The screen repeated the offer to accept. He stared down, thinking about the data stored in his memory. His face was shadowed. He said nothing, just stared ahead. He spoke, "Yes." Then he said, "I accept." His eyes glowed. A bright flash filled the scene. 2 figures stood in the light. His face was lit by the glow. He looked up, eyes narrowed. He fell through darkness. A purple sky appeared above him. A swarm of glowing red dots rushed past him in the dark. He gasped, "Oh my God." He saw monsters everywhere. Giant monsters stood tall. Their eyes glowed red in the dark. 2 huge monsters faced forward. One had horns, one had spikes. He glanced sideways. What are they looking at? He wondered. The sky twisted into dark spirals. Monsters lined the ground. He stared up. A purple sky and hordes of monsters. This can't be Earth. An army of monsters stood ready. Text said they would break out the gate. A bright blast shattered the scene. Light filled the entire panel. Wings and blades flew through the air. The battle had begun. Monsters fought silver soldiers. Weapons clashed in the sky. Swords hit armor. The sound of battle filled the purple air. Blood stained the ground. Silver soldiers fought hard and strong. The soldiers were winning. But then they all stopped at once. The silver soldiers froze. Their weapons hung in the air. Dark shadows moved fast. They swirled around the battlefield. A dark figure rose. "He's the monarch of shadows," someone cried. Monsters screamed. Their blood turned dark, giving them new power. He watched in awe. "I can't even compare to him," he thought. Silver soldiers charged. Dark shadows met them in the sky. Black and silver clashed. The battle grew louder and wilder. He watched in awe. "I can't even compare to him," he thought. Silver soldiers charged. Dark shadows met them in the sky. Black and silver clashed. The battle grew louder and wilder. A purple blade cut through the air. He dodged just in time. He rolled away as the ground cracked under the impact. The white-haired man looked calm. His power felt overwhelming. Shadow soldiers moved fast. They left destruction everywhere. The Monster King looked down. Victory seemed certain for him. A door stood closed. Someone asked, "Are you sure about this?" A red-haired man spoke. "I sense a huge amount of mana." A blonde woman frowned. "This mana isn't his." A man in glasses said. Hunter Jin Woo cleared the dungeon. The door creaked open. Light poured out from inside. A man gasped. "What the hell?" He couldn't believe his eyes. A blade flashed. The man barely blocked the sudden attack. The floor shattered. Figures stood frozen as debris flew. The blonde woman's eyes glowed. She looked shocked and scared. A hooded figure spoke. "You strong humans will make good offerings." Gon stood calm, white energy swirling around him against a dark sky. A blue blast hit a red orb, sending cracks through the air. Spears shot up, shattering as a blue force exploded around them. He looked down, seeing a battlefield littered with broken weapons. Two huge monsters roared, their red eyes glowing in the dark. A dark figure hissed, white energy crackling along its armor. A red eye glared, the beast growling low and deep. A white wolf leaped, chasing a small figure through the air. A helmeted face stared, purple light glowing in its eye slits. The screen faded to gray, leaving only silence. A man screamed, blood on his face. "Heal him, quick!" A healer shouted. "Move the wounded to the back." A voice yelled. "Here they come," as armored figures march. A dark king stood. "Anyone alive will witness the king's birth." A figure whispered. "If any of you survive, that is." A man yelled. "Everyone watch out with wide, scared eyes." A blade flashed, slicing through the air with a bright streak. Explosions rocked the ground, shaking the stone floor. A red cloak fluttered as the figure fell to the cracked stone. A man's fist glowed, sparks flying as he punched forward. A red cape swirled as he dodged a blast. "Kaboom!" echoed. He yelled, "Use this chance to destroy the stone statues." A man swung his arm, a blur of motion slicing the air. A sharp sound rang out as a blade struck stone. He crashed into a statue, shards flying from the impact. He stared at the statue. "It's a lot sturdier than I thought." A massive blast erupted, smoke and debris flying everywhere. A man warned, "These guys have high resistance to physical attacks." He added, "So be careful," as magic crackled around his hands. A statue stood, smoke rising. Can it withstand this much magic? He panicked. "Damn it, are we all out of options?" His eye glowed red, face set in grim focus. He stood firm. "Then we have to wake Sung Jin Woo up." Figures charged as he yelled, "Whatever it is, wake him up now." A bright blast exploded from his hand. He flinched, shocked by the sudden impact. Debris flew as another explosion shook the ground. A giant eye glared. "How dare you disturb the king in his slumber?" He dashed sideways, dodging the attack. A figure crashed into stone, sending cracks wide. A soldier yelled, "Go wake Hunter Sung up." He ran forward, boots pounding the broken ground. He turned, a dark shape looming behind him. The screen faded to black. A man glowed white, rising from swirling smoke. Monsters clashed in a storm of purple light. Shadows swirled around a giant beast. A bull-headed giant said, "It's like he has a bottomless well of mana." They fought beasts and shadow soldiers. This was a war between monsters and soldiers. A face appeared, so the Shadow Monarch wasn't on the same side. A Shadow Knight stood, internal conflict. Soldiers marched, spears raised ready for battle. A dark figure sat, purple energy swirling at his feet. He spoke. "We had a chance to end this war today." He growled, "What a shame. I could have done away with you." His eyes burned purple. "I asked you a question. Why did you betray me?" He hissed, sharp teeth bared in anger. He snarled, voice full of rage. He moved, shadowy armor shifting with him. He raised a fist, crackling with dark power. He snarled, voice full of rage. He moved, shadowy armor shifting with him. He raised a fist, crackling with dark power. He grabbed, light bursting from his grip. He cracked, armor splitting under force. He crushed, a dark shape falling hard. He stared, his eye glowing purple. He wondered where he'd seen those eyes. He hit the ground, dust flying up. He rose, smoke swirling around his head. He gasped, recognizing the Demon King. He panicked, Baron's name on his lips. He froze, shocked by the sudden sight. He looked down, his body changing fast. He felt it, power pulsing in his chest. He turned, his form now half skeleton. He stood, dark energy swirling around. He faced forward, eyes glowing bright. He saw them, angels descending from sky. A hooded figure with a cracked mask stood, its red eye glowing in the dark. He smiled, showing broken teeth, and spoke with a voice full of amusement. The words, "Aren't you?" floated in the air, sharp and mocking. He loomed over a smaller fighter, his dark robe billowing around him. The fighter yelled, "Sword dance," and spun, blades flashing in a circle. He moved fast, his body a blur as he dodged the sweeping blades. His eye glowed white as he watched the attack, unblinking and focused. A single blade shot past his face, missing by a hair's width. He laughed, just like that. Ha 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 ha! As blades clinked off his armor, more blades struck him, but he stood firm, unharmed by the impacts. The fighter cried out in pain, blood spraying as he was hit hard. He mocked. Is that all you've got? How boring, you humans. He raised his sword, ready to strike down the bleeding fighter. Another man watched, his face grim as the fight unfolded before him. He warned, "You won't break through my creations with those weak attempts." His armored chest took a hit, but the plates held strong without a crack. His arm moved, a blur of motion as he prepared his next move. He sneered. "I guess you can't do any better," as the fighter struggled. An explosion burst behind him, smoke and debris flying everywhere. A man with red hair said, "We have to wake Hunter Sung Jinwoo, no other way." The fighter leapt, blood flying, trying to escape the deadly strike. He moved again, a dark shadow, his blades cutting through the air. The ground shattered as he landed, dust and stones flying from the impact. He looked down, impressed. "You dodged it? Impressive." His single red eye glowed, fixed on the fighter below him. He wondered aloud, "A shadow?" His voice full of surprise. The fighter stood, wounded but defiant, a dark orb floating beside him. He asked, "How did you come here? What is your link to Sung Jinwoo?" The fighter answered simply, "A friend," his eyes glowing with resolve. The fighter stood, wounded but defiant, a dark orb floating beside him. He asked, "How did you come here? What is your link to Sung Jinwoo?" The fighter answered simply, "A friend," his eyes glowing with resolve. He declared, "I am his friend who came here to rescue him." The enemy replied, "So it is not the means of the king." The enemy said, "All right, I shall give you an opportunity." It announced, "Today, here in this world, one of the greatest monarch would descend." The fighter stood firm, purple energy swirling around his torn form. He vowed, "I will give you an opportunity to witness this glorious event." The enemy warned, "However, every single one of your little friends shall die here today." The fighter snapped back, "Not today." The enemy looked shocked, a red eye glowing on its broken face. It gasped. A bright pink blast hit the enemy, smoke and debris flying. The fighter growled, "You," his voice low and dangerous. Dark smoke filled the air as rubble fell around him. The ground shook, stones tumbling from above. The fighter looked at his hand, purple energy pulsing, and asked, "What have you done to my body?" He moved fast, a blur against the dark sky. A man with blonde hair stared up, eyes wide with shock. He opened his mouth, sweat dripping down his face. A red-haired man with glasses looked down, sweat on his brow. A girl with blonde hair screamed, blood on her face and shirt. The fighter stood atop the rubble, purple aura blazing. He leaped down, landing hard with a thunderous crash. The enemy screamed, You are not the king." "But why?" The fighter glared. "Why are you here instead of him?" He questioned, "How are you able to regain your consciousness with a black heart?" He touched his chest. Black heart. Bottom, bottom, bottom. He realized, so this irrational amount of mana is all the doing of this heart. He thought the recalled data didn't give him all answers yet. He heard the voice say he was chosen as the player. He asked the broken statue what it planned to do to him. The statue's eye glowed, thinking, "Don't tell me." A shadowy figure yelled, "Shadow Monarch, how dare you?" Purple lightning crackled around his body as he moved. He dodged the statue's attack, shouting for answers. The word "questions" filled the screen in bold letters. The statue laughed, calling him unpredictable, and knowing why he was chosen. A man in a hat yelled in shock at the moving statues. He saw even the still statues were now stirring. A statue cracked as it began to rise with glowing eyes. The text screamed, started moving in large letters. A female statue with red eyes opened a book, cracking stone. The statue warned, "If you kill me, no one stops my puppets." He saw small figures moving across the cracked floor. The statue challenged, "Think you can still kill me?" The word "What if" appeared in purple letters. He asked, "Puppets," with blood on his face and glowing eye. The statue warned, "If you kill me, the architect." He questioned, Terrigan, with blood on his chin. He spoke calmly, "The existing system won't fall apart." The text asked, Appears now would it, in bold. A large cracked dome loomed overhead, glowing faintly. A red light pulsed inside the dome's center. He stood tall, declaring, "I'll forcefully." The statue's broken face stared, one eye red, one blue. A system alert flashed, "Denied admin access." The same alert repeated with a ding sound. The alert appeared a third time, unchanged. A system alert flashed, "Denied admin access." The same alert repeated with a ding sound. The alert appeared a third time, unchanged. He yelled, "Why is the system?" in frustration. His body glowed with purple energy, torn and broken. He thought about it with calm focus. His mouth stayed closed, expression unreadable. His eyes glowed purple, dark, and determined. He declared, "I'll devour the system whole." He mocked, "I guess your design was not so perfect." A mechanical eye glowed red, face cracked and cold. It screamed, "Arj! How dare you, you bastard!" He stood firm as green and red blades flew past. The broken face whispered, "A prediction, no, a prophecy." Hunter Sung stood before a glowing blue gate, his guild members gone inside. He watched the gate, his face tight with worry as others waited nearby. A man in armor asked what was happening, his voice full of fear. Silhouettes emerged from the bright light, their forms dark and unclear. They walked out slowly, their clothes torn, their faces grim and tired. A man yelled in shock, his eyes wide at the sight of the survivors. Someone asked for help moving the bodies, their voices shaking with grief. The sky turned pink and orange, streaked with white lines of energy. Hunter Sung stood alone, his thoughts heavy, his space hidden in shadow. A man in armor spoke of top hunters lost, his voice low and grave. He said they were all sacrifices, his hand resting on a covered body. He admitted he knew about the dungeon, his voice quiet and sad. Rows of covered bodies lay on the ground, a terrible sight to see. A man asked how he found the dungeon, his brow furrowed with doubt. Hunter Sung said the dungeon summoned him, his back turned to them. He said he got a message only he could see, his voice calm and firm. The man thought he was not joking, his eyes fixed on the bodies. A woman asked if he was all right, her face full of concern. He said he was fine, but his voice was weak and unsteady. He admitted he was tired, his head bowing low under the setting sun. People yelled his name as he fell, their voices sharp with panic. Trucks rolled in, their beds piled high with glowing blue crystals. The crystals spilled onto the street, bright and sharp under the sun. A large man said the crystals would power a magic circle, his arms crossed. The magic circle formed around the gate, humming with blue light. It began to gather its own power, the air thick with energy. The man frowned, his hand on his chin. Something felt off. His eye glowed green, his face tense as he sensed someone near. He yelled for the person to show themselves, his voice loud and angry. He wondered who would stay on the streets when the break came tomorrow. He didn't say it was a person, though, his voice low and calm. The other man looked up, confused, his mouth slightly open. A dark figure stood on a rooftop, watching the city below. He spoke softly, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. He turned to face the swirling red sky above the buildings. The words, "To the predetermined, tradie," floated in the air. Soldiers stood behind yellow tape, guns held ready at their sides. A tank pointed its barrel toward the glowing red horizon. A woman with long hair spoke to a man in a dark coat. She stepped forward, her hand resting on her weapon's hilt. Her voice was cold as she spoke of human weakness. He looked up, his back to the camera, at the dark sky. Two figures walked down a street lined with glowing blue flowers. A bearded man laughed, raising a bottle to his lips. He drank deeply, his eyes narrowing as he spoke. They discussed the S-rank hunters, their voices serious. They wondered about the United States' response to the crisis. The words, "The world is suffering from the lack of quali-ifid people," appeared. His green eye narrowed, a small cut visible on his cheek. He gasped, his face twisted in shock and fear. A bright flash exploded as the gate tore open with force. He jolted awake, his eyes wide and confused. He looked around, the ceiling lights bright above him. He sat up slowly, hand on his forehead, unsure where he was. A man in a white coat called out his name from the doorway. He stared at the man's legs, his voice barely a whisper. The man in white asked why he woke so late, eyes wide. He stared, shocked, learning he was out for 3 full days. He covered his mouth, hearing how worried his friend had been. He looked down, his hand trembling slightly as he spoke. He stared, shocked, learning he was out for 3 full days. He covered his mouth, hearing how worried his friend had been. He looked down, his hand trembling slightly as he spoke. A soldier stood, looking at a monitor showing a fallen comrade. The soldier spoke, his face serious, asking what happened. A giant foot slammed down, crushing the ground below. A giant with horns roared, his eyes glowing blue with rage. He held his weapon, standing firm amidst the destruction. A man yelled, his face twisted in fear at the giant's size. He ran forward, shouting that the problem was small. He raised his hand, green energy crackling around his fingers. Blue crystals shot forward, slicing through the air. The crystals raced down the street, shattering everything. A swirling red vortex formed above the city, crackling with power. The vortex grew, lightning flashing around its edges. The giant was caught in the blast, thrown back by the force. He laughed, smirking as he claimed his barrier was unbreakable. The giant's eyes glowed blue, staring down with cold intent. A fist slammed into the giant, sending him flying backward. He blinked, his eyes wide with surprise and sweat on his face. He gasped, his mouth open in shock at what he saw. The giant swung his arm, a bright slash cutting through the air. Hyung Nim stood still as blue blades flew past him in the shattered building. The title, Solo Leveling, appeared in bold, stylized letters on a white screen. A voice called out, Hyung Nim, as another voice whispered, The Raid. He looked down, his face shadowed, as the word failed hung in the air. He lay slumped over his desk in a quiet office filled with shelves of files. He rubbed his temple, his eyes half closed, as he muttered, A man in a suit told him he slept 23 hours. They almost took him to the hospital. He stood, holding a file, and told the seated man about an awakened patient. He confirmed the patient was Hunter Sung Jin Woo's mother, showing her photo. He frowned, thinking, then asked what the second thing was after the first. He opened the door as a voice announced, The young lady is here. She stood in the doorway, smiling slightly, asking when he became like that. A giant hand burst from the ground, crushing a small figure beneath it. A bearded man screamed in rage, his face twisted with fury and pain. He was swallowed whole by a giant mouth lined with sharp, white teeth. The monster's face, with one glowing eye, grinned menacingly at the sky. Tanks fired shells into a city, explosions bursting from their cannons. He sliced through the monster's arm with a flash of his blade in midair. He stared up at the giant, shouting, It's absurd, as it moved too fast. A helicopter flew over the chaos as a reporter said it was seen from afar. He sat on a couch, watching the news, as the country focused on the hunters. He looked serious, hand on chin, fearing Asia could be in danger soon. He watched the TV as a voice begged him, Don't go over the disaster. She stood in the doorway, looking at him and said, Appa, don't go. She faced him, her back to the viewer, saying he was about to leave. She looked down, her face calm, but her eyes filled with quiet sadness. He stared back, his eyes sharp and unreadable. Saying nothing for a moment, he stood, turned away, and said he was not going anywhere, just resting. He gently placed his hand on her head, smiling softly, telling her not to worry. The scene shifted to an empty park with benches, a gazebo, and a fountain. He sat alone on a park bench, head down, looking tired. A dark figure spoke to him, its eyes glowing in the shadow. The figure asked if he was watching dramas instead of guarding Jinnah. He asked how Gina was doing. Looking up at the dark shape, the figure said she must have developed a trauma, showing her face. He stood on a city street looking lost, wondering what to do. He turned his head, surprised by a sound near a parked car. He looked up at a tall, modern building with many windows. He sat in an office chair, asking what business they had. An older man introduced himself as CEO Yu Myung-han of Yu Jin Construction. He stared as a hand pointed to a check on the table. The hand held the check, saying he wasn't someone who believed money could buy anything. The CEO closed his eyes, asking him to consider the check as a token of sincerity. He looked down, his expression serious and thoughtful. He asked what the man wanted to buy from him, hands on the table. The CEO stayed silent, his face showing deep thought. The CEO told him he suffered from the same illness as his mother. He asked if Jin-ho knew, sitting across the large table. He said now it was 4 people who knew the secret. The CEO smiled slightly, agreeing with a simple yes. The CEO said he found the only person in the world who recovered from the illness. A cup of coffee sat next to the check. As he said, it wasn't a coincidence. He told the CEO he only wanted the truth and promised to never forget his kindness. He sat still, looking out the window, silent and deep in thought. The word "Tode" appeared on a blank white screen. His face was close to another's, both staring with serious eyes.